And I'll recognize John Campbell to come and introduce our program.
It's a pleasure to introduce our speaker today. I know most of you know Coach Joey Christian. This is his 8th consecutive time appearing at Kiwanis, which means this is his 8th year coming up as head coach. But just a little bit about him in case we do have some guests in the audience. Of course, he's a native of Sirgoinsville, graduated from Volunteer High School, where he played offensive line and defensive line. Then he was good enough to go on and play at ETSU as an offensive lineman. He earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in marketing, then got a master's degree in teaching education, and then later got an EDS degree from LMU. So quite a bit of education there. Part of the reason I guess he's considered an outstanding business teacher in the CTE program. But his first coaching job was at Volunteer High School as offensive line coach and then offensive coordinator. After 6 years there, Graham Clark saw how good he was, so he got him to be the offensive line coach at DB. And I think he got to be offensive coordinator too. And then in 2018, he became the head coach, one of the greatest, probably the greatest traditions of high school football in Tennessee. I'm sure that was a great honor to him at that time. And we've been blessed to have some really great seasons. In the 7 seasons so far, they've been regional champs 3 times. He's been coach of the year 3 times. And they were always there, right, playing competitively. And of course, they have to play their big rival, which they had a great victory over last year. Did a great job upsetting Science Hill at that particular time. They may not consider it upset, but a lot of people did. So we were certainly happy to see that. But looking forward to a great year. He's going to introduce these outstanding leaders on his team. It seems like I've watched all of them since they were sophomores. They played quite a bit of sophomores, really. So I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about it. But Coach Joey Christian. Go Tribe.
All right, well, thank you. Relaxation day. I'd say some of y'all are ready for a nap there. Something. At least get your hearing aids turned on here where you can focus in. We'll get you back to the home here soon. No, I always look forward to being here. I say it every year, such a distinguished group of individuals and people. I really do. I look forward to this every year. We usually do some question and answers, and I know George says he's got one for me, but he usually does. So I'll try to do a little less. But I'm going to talk about a few things here. First of all, my staff. We only added 1 coach this year, and he's a former Indian. I love bringing former Indians. I probably should know how many Dobyns Bennett grads I have on my staff, but it's let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there's like 6. No, if I get on the freshman, I think there's about 7 or 8 of my coaches or former Indians. That's the way I like it. That's the way I want it. But we were fortunate enough to bring another one on board this year, Lyndon Redwine. That'd be Mark's nephew. But Lyndon played quarterback for us and went on to have a very distinguished college career. So we've lost no coaches from last year. Last year I talked about how we had finally made an effort. And was able to hire some coaches that were teachers that was going to be in the building, because coaching football is not about X's and O's. It's about relationships. That's what we try to do with and for these young men, and the connections that we try to make, for a lifetime. And we were able to do that better. And honestly, do we make a connection with every kid? I mean, no, it don't always work out. Just by nature with individuals. But we were able to create deeper relationships. Kids are going to, when it gets in the cutting time at the end of the game, they're going to play a little harder there if they know you're committed to them, and we were able to do that. Our schedule, boy, have y'all seen our schedule this year? That's a mess. Listen, that's about as bad a day as there is that I have to go through every 2 years. It's a disaster. Here's the thing about it. When I looking at our schedule, nobody local will play us. Like when I call these other schools locally to play us, nobody will play us. They won't do it. When like Tennessee High in Bristol, we've played each other 94 times in 104 years. I believe I've got that right as far as my years of Dobyns Bennett football and the years that we played them, and they refused to play us. I'm like, we played you more than we played Science Hill, but they will not do it. That's not a rivalry for them. They have no desire to play us. Any of the other schools, I mean, so we have to do. How does that work? Well, we're going 3 times to Knoxville this year for trips. That's that's hard. To me, that goes against what high school athletics is about, high school football. First of all, that's going to cost our program about $13,000 to $16,000 a year to go on those 3 trips. That's out of my budget. We don't have that. I mean, we don't have that money in there to do that, quite honestly. I think it's hard because students, that are proud to be members of Dobyns Bennett that want to come and attend the games and watch these guys play. Well, they don't get to do that. 7 o'clock kickoff in Knoxville. That's hard for parents to make. If you don't get off work till 5, getting to Bearden at 7 or getting to Oak Ridge. How's that? Getting to Oak Ridge at 7 o'clock. That's tough. And that's just hoping that there's no wrecks in Knoxville, which I've never seen happen. So that's such a difficult thing. It's tough for our band to where they can't go like they used to. So all that is just so hard. Let's see here. So with the schedule and everything, we're playing 3 teams from 3 states in the first 3 weeks. There's not many schools in America that says they're going to play 3 teams from 3 different states, but we're, week 1 to next week we're in Knoxville, and then the next week Asheville is here, and then the next week Gate City is in J. Fred. So that's kind of tough. Even those guys are closer than some of the other people that we play. We've created that little rivalry with Asheville. Played them the last 2 years. It's been a good little showing and a good little thing. So we was able to keep them. Gate City wanted to play, like I said. So we were fortunate to have them on the schedule. But then you look back, we're able to get Oak Ridge back on the schedule this year. First time. Oh golly, what is it? Probably just 2 years. First time in 2 years. Such a tradition and history and everything amongst the 2 cities, amongst the 2 schools. To get them back on the schedule was great. And I really appreciate Coach Rang that he was able to make that happen. Listen, if I had my way, we would play. Like, honestly, if I had my way, we'd play 9 games in Blankenship Field down there. We'd play 1 at J. Fred, and we'd play the other 9 down there. I love going down there. That is that's a pretty awesome place. That's a lot of good wins down there. But the TSSAA sets our region schedule, and so kind of the last thing I was wanting to talk about is really like TSSAA. So our region schedule is, they set our region. Well, here's what you got to understand about TSSAA and some things. And I mean, they got their own issues, and I'm not saying, and I've talked to Mr. Hawk about them before, but like there needs to be some oversight. I don't know. I hate that word too, but there needs to be some sort of checks and balances with them. It seems like they just get to They just get to wave a magic sword and make things happen. How many state champions gets crowned in Tennessee? How many knows? How many football? How many state champions in football does Tennessee crown? 9. 9. In the state of Tennessee, they crown 9. 6 public schools, 3 private schools. All right? In Georgia has 119 more schools that play football in Georgia than there are in Tennessee. 119. That's a lot now. 119 more schools play football in Georgia than they do in Tennessee. You know how many champions get named in Georgia? 6. 6. It was 7, and the State General Assembly in Georgia went back to the GHSA 2 years ago. There was a program, Camden County, which is the last county if you go down 95, right before you drive into Florida, and you're about in Jacksonville, right there, Camden County, and the head coach was a famous head coach. He was from Gate City. They traveled over 3,500 miles in the playoffs, and the General Assembly of Georgia, or whatever it's called down there, their governing body at the state went to the GHSA and said, "Listen, we can't do this for kids." Like I think in the season, their coach told me they traveled over 7,000 miles. Like they could have went from to San Diego and back in the travel that they did during the season. And so the General Assembly down there in Georgia told them, they said, "Hey, this ain't good for kids." I mean, every Friday they're missing school. Like he would tell me, they would leave for an away game at 8:30 in the morning. Kids would get to school, they'd feed them breakfast, and they'd leave. Well, kids can't miss school that much. That's crazy. Well, that's what we've turned into a whole lot. So the fact that Georgia shrunk it from 7 to 6 because the Georgia General Assembly said, you're going to have to start, told the GHSA, you're going to have to start paying for travel for high school football. Of course, then they were like, whoa, okay, well, let's go back down to 6 instead of 7. So TSSAA, Oak Ridge came up to be a 6A. And we lost out of our conference William Blount. So there's still 12 teams from Cleveland up that are 6A. Right? You with me? So 12. How many do you think's in our region? Yeah, it's 5. Like, if you have 12 and you want to divide it evenly, that's 6 and 6, right? But no, that's not the way it got done. So we have 5. So now we only have 4 conference games. I got to find 6 out of conference games. Nobody up here will play me. What do you do? What do you do? It's a terrible, terrible situation. And then the only schools that'll play us would be like a Greenville or Elizabethton or somebody like that. Well, there's 8 teams in their region. They only got to find 3 games, and they, like Elizabethton's going to play Science Hill. They're going to play somebody else every year. Like they don't have games for that. So it's turned into like the biggest fiasco ever. We could have had 6 teams in our region, but Westridge wrote a letter to the state and said they didn't want Oak Ridge in ours. They wanted it to be 7 in Region 2, 5 in Region 1. You probably can figure out why they wanted that. That way they could figure out the winner of the Westridge Morristown East game would go to the playoffs, which I understand that. That's probably best for them. But that's where we are with our schedule. I get asked about that a lot. Why do we do that? TSSAA's changed our here's a smart one too. TSSAA's changed our playoffs this year. The second round of the playoffs, if we're not hosting, then we're going to have to go to Murfreesboro, Rutherford County. We're going to have to go to Rutherford County. Listen, putting 70, I think I got 75, putting 75 kids, 15 coaches, and all the other staff to travel, 5 hours to Rutherford County is insane. And to say, well, we're going to get back at, 4 in the morning? Something like that. I mean, is that what's best for kids? Is that what's best for young people to have them on a bus for that long? But that's I guess it is. That's what we're going to do. If we say we're all in it for kids and we want what's best for kids, that's what we're doing. NIL transfer portal, I get that a lot. I think it's probably the craziest thing in the world. It's going to run me out of this job. The only thing that would keep me from running out of my job is the gentleman who's been married for 61 years. And so my wife, I don't know, then I would have to, she would kill me if I had to spend a lot of time. We'd never make it to 61. But the NIL and the transfer portals is here to stay. We got beat out of the playoffs by Bearden last year. I think it's, everybody understands that Bearden had kids, they were paying $1,400, $1,600, $1,700 a month that they were paying kids to play football. They had anywhere between 10 and 25 kids that they're paying $1,700, $1,800 a month. They're paying their rent and they're paying them food to come to Bearden and to play football at Bearden. We have zero. We don't have any that does that. But trust me, there's a whole lot of other schools that are doing the same thing, that are doing more. I'm not for that. It is what it is. Here's my thoughts on that. I'm old school. I want these kids to want to play at Dobyns Bennett. I want them to want to be developed. I want them to want to be coached hard. I learned lessons. Football, listen, I'm here because of football. I'm comfortable speaking to y'all in a large crowd because I played football, because I have confidence in myself, because my coaches instilled confidence in me, because of the things that I did when I had success. I understand it. I understand that I am responsible for myself, and nobody else is. It is completely me, and I learned that through football. Well, this NIL and transfer portal thing says, well, if you don't like it, you can just leave. Nobody's learning responsibility. I don't get the responsibility. I don't get the lessons that are being taught by that. But we could talk about that for a long time if you want to. Here's the thing: at Dobyns Bennett, we develop, we coach kids, and if these kids or anybody else don't want that, then I wish them the best, and they can leave, and we'll move on without them. Talk about last year's team. We lost 5 of our front 6 off last year's team on our defense. 59% of our tackles. That's going to be, I don't know how we replace that. The fortunate thing is we do have most of our back end returning. A couple of those guys are here. So we got a lot of experience there. Offensively, we have about 64% of our if you take the quarterback out. We have about 64% of our offensive numbers returning. We did lose 3 O-linemen to graduation. We lost 1 to injury. We'll talk about that more in a minute. We have new quarterback this year. I like him. I like the way he's done things. I like the way he's took care of balls in the scrimmages and 7-on-7s. And I like the kids we got, but we're a house of cards on the line of scrimmage. There's no doubt about it. It could fall in a heartbeat. And these guys have no idea what that means about a house of cards or what the analogy is there. Trust me, they don't know on that. I'll have to tell them in the van on the way back. But we'll survive no matter what happens. We'll survive and we'll excel with the kids we got. Our kids work hard. They do what we ask them to do, and in the end, is that not what you want for your city? Is that not all you could ask for? Is for these guys to do that? Because it's certainly all I could ask for. So the first one I'm going to announce, he'll stand up right here. And all 5 of these guys have played this will be their 3rd year playing, 3rd year starting. When I say playing, I'm talking about Friday night lights on the field playing. They've got a lot of experience, a lot of under their belt. And that's why they're here, and that's why I have at least some confidence in the season. So the first one, though, is this is Baker Carrell. Baker's been a starter for 3 years on the offensive line. Baker's played He's played football, basketball, and baseball. This year he's just going to concentrate on football and baseball. Very athletic kid. He's got a high ceiling about him, but he started for 3 years on the offensive line. He'll have a chance to play on Saturday somewhere. And he's been a good one. We're gonna have to lean on him this year because he will be the only returner back, and that's because this next guy, Tyler Grizzle, right here. All right, Tyler's played a lot on both sides of the line of scrimmage, offense and defense. Tyler unfortunately suffered a pretty bad injury in the spring. I had told Tyler that I wasn't going to let him go through spring practice because I know what he can do. Trust me, I know what he can do, and he can play some ball. But Coach Quarles, that used to be the head coach at ETSU and at Maryville, he had came through for where was he at? Austin P or UT Martin? Austin P. Austin P had come through and was recruiting, so we just was putting him through some drills, and just an unfortunate incident, at one of those non-contact things, and he's had knee surgery. But Tyler's another one that's going to play on Saturdays somewhere. We just got to find the fit and where it's at. But they're going to get a dang good. He's one of the best. He's one of the best ones in my 23 years at Dobyns Bennett. He's one of the best line of scrimmage guys that we've had in those years. Next guy right here is Jalen Thomas. Jalen's number 17. Jalen's played both sides of the ball for all 2 previous years, and it's certainly this year. First guy never tackles Jalen. That's what we always say as coaches. You just put him out there. First guy never brings him down. He's another one that's played all 3 sports: football, basketball, baseball. Has excelled at those. Certainly, he's a starting corner. Has been. He's played safety for us. He plays slot receiver, and he's our leading returning wide receiver back from last year as well. So expect a lot out of Jalen. We're going to get a lot out of Jalen. All right, the next guy is Xavier Goodwin, or Zebo. Zebo's another one that's played a whole lot for us. Started at safety as a sophomore and junior. Really fought through some, not injuries, but fought through some sickness things last year that kind of held him back, but he looks good now. Boy, he has really recovered from that and things, but he's another one. He is as good as we've had in the back end, certainly in my 8 years as head coach. He has played all 5 positions back there. Obviously a very, very smart kid. Dobyns Bennett football is very important to. It's been in his family blood for generations. Dobyns Bennett athletics has. And we're excited to have him. We'll see him on offense. We'll see him catching the ball, making plays for us there. And the last one is Tegan Begley. In 10 games last year, Tegan rushed for over 1,000 yards. He played outside linebacker. We're kind of up in the air what he's going to play defensively this year. You'll have to buy your tickets if you hadn't already got them and see what he plays on defense. But he'll be back as a running back. Has played really well for us at that. I see no reason that's going to change. We just got to be able to block a little bit better in front of him than we have in the preseason scrimmages. But these 5 guys right here has done really well for us and has been a big part of our success. Last year being region champs, like John said, and so I think the bar is set right there, and we're not going to lower the bar. I tell these guys all the time, the standard for Dobyns Bennett football is here. We're not going to lower the standard to you. You're going to have to bring your standard to us. We're not going to lower it for you. So that's about all I got. Am I out of time? I'm not out of time. So, all right. Well, if anybody's got any questions or whatever, I might